in the Middle East, not far from Yemen. I'm going to warn you now, this is going to be the angriest video I have ever made in my entire life because there are not adequate words in the English language for me to fully communicate to you right now how furious I am. In case you haven't seen yet, news just broke that multiple high-level members of the Trump administration, including Vice President J.D. Vance, Secretary of State Marco Rubio, and Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth, shared highly classified information about upcoming troop movements and strikes in Yemen via a signal chat that they accidentally added a reporter to, violating Espionage Act in the process and putting the lives of thousands of service members, including my husband's, at risk. It is only because of the integrity of the reporter that information did not get leaked out and cause the deaths of service members. They did all of this after we they already knew that Signal had recently been hacked. You set aside the fact that they accidentally included a reporter in this group chat, and none of them even thought to maybe make sure that there wasn't anyone in the group that there shouldn't be. Even if you set all of that aside, and it was only the people they meant to be in there, they still violated the Espionage Act. They still put troop lives at risk. Their phones could very easily be hacked. Their phones could very easily be stolen. Their phones could very easily be left behind at whatever bar Pete Hegseth goes to after work every day to get drunk because he's a goddamn alcoholic. All it would take is one of those phones falling into the wrong hands, and those motherfuckers would have sent hundreds of troop members into fucking hours calling for the fucking resignation of every, up to and including J.D. Vance. There is no world in which it is acceptable for any one of those motherfuckers to still have their job by the end of today. If any person in the military did something like this, those motherfuckers would not only lose their job, lose their rank, lose their retirement, they would be in front of a military judge before you could. They should not face any less punishment. In a sane world, this scandal would be presidential administration ending. This scandal would single-handedly bring a presidential administration to their knees. It would end them. It is only because of the pathetic slavish devotion of MAGA types and the fact that they will fucking sell out every fucking value they have ever claimed to have in order to fucking justify every single evil thing that Donald Trump ever does. That is the only reason why this single scandal won't end Trump's presidency. But it absolutely should end J.D. Vance's career. It absolutely should end Marco Rubio's career. It absolutely can end Pete Hegseth's career. If you are a Republican member of Congress and you aren't on news within the next few hours calling for their resignations, doing everything that you can to get these dangerous men out of office, then you should keep troops' names and lives out of your mouths forever. I don't ever want to hear you say you support the troops ever again. Because no, you don't. This is the moment where you either prove that you actually give a shit about national security, you actually give a shit about the lives of service members, or you prove once and for all that you will forever toe the party line. If you do not even have courage to call what just happened the fucking abomination that it is, then honestly, you should put yourself out of your misery and definitely put us out of our misery by stepping down out of your office. Because how dare you gather a paycheck from the American taxpayer while not even having the courage to call out multiple high-level officials violating the fucking Espionage Act and endangering the lives of hundreds, possibly thousands of service members in the Middle East right now.
Our video with this angry woman. This woman is very angry because of what happened yesterday. Yesterday, the editor-in-chief of The Atlantic came out and exposed how he was mistakenly added to the private group chat of the US leaders. And that group is made of highly officials like Peter Haig, Rubio, and J.D. Vance. In that specific group, they were exchanging some highly sensitive information about the US military operations. And this journalist came out trying to talk about these incidents, and guess what? While being interviewed on the TV, Peter Haig said that there were no sensitive information that were being shared in that specific group. And this morning, the journalists decided to expose some of those messages that were being shared in the group. So inside this video, some of those messages will be exposed. So I want you guys to watch this video from the beginning to the end. And as you watch this video, remember that the best way of you supporting us is to give it a like. Let's get into it.
Atlantic just published more secret group chat text messages, and yeah, it has many saying it feels safe to say that these look classified. Here is the Pete Hegseth account laying out the sequencing of events with exact times and plans of attack, and no joke, if the Houthis or someone sympathetic to their cause had intercepted these text messages, we would have several dead pilots and sailors right now. Right, and after that text, we see the Hegseth account say, "We are currently clear on OPSEC," which would appear that he understood the importance of secrecy here and that he knew that the information was classified. Now, also, notably here, the Atlantic's still doing a bit of withholding here, or they withheld the names of the US's targets as well as the identities of CIA agents. You know, with yesterday, Goldberg saying that just because they're being irresponsible doesn't mean I need to be. And just so you fully understand what we're looking at, I'm going to let the text roll on the screen here so you can see them. Right, so at the start of the text thread, we see that Mike Waltz added Goldberg before Rubio gets added. So it definitely doesn't appear like he broke in as they seemingly tried to say yesterday. Waltz also seems to reveal the capabilities of our European allies in the text, saying they don't have the capability to defend themselves from anti-ship missiles. We also see the Waltz account confirm that there are several signal groups, and he shares a battle plan assessment, which many say appears to be classified information. And all of this is, yesterday, you know, we saw the entire administration, everyone from Trump to Hegseth to Waltz, either outright saying that there was no classified information or attack information shared, or saying they don't recall. Right, and now what we're seeing is the White House is defending itself by saying, see, no war plans were shared because the Atlantic used the term attack plans in this article. And we've also now seen the Pentagon adopting that same talking point. And with all of this, we've seen at least one U.S. defense official saying it is safe to say that anybody in uniform would be court-martialed for this. Follow to stay in the loop.
Yeah, so that same publisher and publishing a magazine or whatever has just released a play-by-play plans that Pete Hegseth put in that group chat. Let's all take a look, don't we? Fuck it, everybody else can see it. You know, they're saying it's not a national security risk, but look. All right, here we go. Time now, 11:44 Eastern Time, weather favorable, just confirmed with CENTCOM. We are a go for mission launch. 12:15 Eastern Time, F-18s launch. First strike package. 1:45 if you can't read military time. Trigger base F-18 first strike. Window starts. Target terrorist. Do you guys? How is this not a security beat, bro?
President Trump has signed an executive order yesterday making it illegal to vote without additional documentation, which will surely make all American elections safe from outside interference.
This is going to make it harder for, like, married women to vote.
Well, Associated Press, I actually find it insulting that you think so little of the American people. The American people are able to figure out just a little bit of paperwork. And frankly, if you were to do your job and do your job as a reporter, you would know that that's not actually very hard.
Will President Trump be asking Pete Hegseth to resign?
And again, like I said, President Trump is looking into the allegations of this fake news from that failing Atlantic into Mr. Hegseth. Mr. Hegseth is a man of honor. He is a veteran, and you should respect him. I feel like you are all obsessed, frankly, with this text group chat, and I feel like you need to focus on bigger things like Joe Biden's corruption and letting immigrants here trend to Agua. We're deporting all of these criminals, and you should be celebrating that the streets of America are safer.
President Trump has said no one is above the law. Does that still stand?
Absolutely. Thank you for asking that, Washington Post. President Trump has said that no one is above the law, which is why we are overturning all of Joe Biden's illegal pardons, starting with Dr. Anthony Fauci, and it has actually been confirmed recently, and I'm announcing this, is that we found out recently that Fauci is actually Italian for Wuhan. So you take that, Associated Press, maybe you can run with it and actually have some journalism. That's it for today.
I kept pointing out that Pete Hegseth would be the least qualified Secretary of Defense in the history of this country. And when you hire unqualified people, then you see them do egregious things, like the fact that Pete Hegseth accidentally added a journalist to the group chat. Yes, he leaked the plans that were classified to a journalist by just accidentally adding him to the group chat. Mind you, this is the man who said he wants to restore merit and get rid of woke ideologies like DEI, which calls for people to be hired based on the color of their skin, not the content of their character. And by the content of your character, Pete Hegseth, I'm wondering how much you had to drink when you accidentally drunk text that reporter. But it's 2025. At this point, we should just really acknowledge that we're not calling out hypocrisies to make these folks feel bad. They don't have shame. The hypocrisy is so deep and so embedded that bringing up Hillary Clinton's emails and the fact that they spent years in committees about that, when this happened, and he'll never see a committee hearing. And remember, the anti-woke crowd says that when they see a black surgeon or a pilot, they wonder if they're actually qualified because they know those standards were lowered for them. This guy and the clown show that is the cabinet of the least qualified people to hold those positions in history is living proof that when you hire unqualified people, they will do egregious things like this. And on the one hand, that's our saving grace as a country. Is they're going to do dumb stuff that actually foils their own plans. On the other hand, when you hire unqualified people, they will do egregious things, which will ultimately hurt and destroy elements of the life that we know. But what would America be if an unqualified white man did not make an egregious mistake and face no accountability?
Is it better to assume that Pete Hegseth was stinking drunk when he mistakenly texted U.S. plans to a reporter, or is it better to assume that he's just totally, outrageously incompetent?
Barack Obama's tan suit, Hillary Clinton's emails, two things that had nothing to do with national security breach and or fireable offenses from someone at the highest level of office. Do you guys remember that? That became their platform to take down Obama and Clinton. But the Republicans are spiraling today, defending a massive breach of protocol, national security, and just flat out stupidness.
This is what the leftist media is reduced to. They can't argue with the policies which the American people support. Now we're griping about who's on a text message and who's not. I mean, come on.
More feigned, phony outrage. This is now the scandal of the week that you will see nonstop, 24/7, that nobody will care about. It's not only a smear, but it's waged by the left. That's all.
Takeaway for me is it's an insight, a transparent insight into the thought process and dialogue of our national leaders. If you read the content of these messages, I think you'll come away proud that these are the leaders making these decisions in America.
Did you ever try to start a group text? You're adding people and you accidentally add the wrong person. All of a sudden your Aunt Mary knows all your raunchy plans for the bachelor party. Well, that kind of happened today with the Trump administration.
I'm not going to characterize what happened. Clearly, I think the administration has acknowledged it was a mistake and they'll tighten up and make sure it doesn't happen again.
Nobody was texting war plans, and that's all I have to say about that.
What's going on? Y'all are going to jail! Period!
If Kamala Harris or Barack Obama were in office or anywhere in proximity to the White House or power, and anyone in that administration had given a civilian access to a conversation between the defense secretary and the vice president, all hell would have broken loose. Fox News would have been running that story from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. every day, and there would have been no excuses made for anything to happen, and their head would have been off with their head. The craziest part about being an American is being consistently gaslit by your country, but especially by the Mayo Patrol. They are crazy over there in MAGA land. Pete Hegseth came on TV today and said out his mouth, there was no conversation. 12 hours after we saw the screenshots from the conversation, and no one is challenging him on that side. You have to laugh or this country will make you feel like you're going insane. Because what are we talking about?
We have Pete Buttigieg on the internet cursing. Mayor Pete, one of the smartest, gentlest, kindest participants in the U.S. government, former Secretary of Transportation, just wants to make sure that we have great infrastructure in the U.S. and people can get from A to B without going bankrupt. Little Midwest dad, they have him on the internet dropping F-bombs because they're so incompetent, sending each other text messages and then including the wrong people in the group chat. How are you so stupid? Everybody involved in this situation, according to them, was hired based on merit. So they don't have any DEIs to blame in this case. I don't know, maybe they should have called up Hillary and asked her about her private email server.
This should be a shame to all MAGA supporters. How can you guys vote for this government? The government made of men like Donald Trump? The government made of irresponsible men like Peter Haig, who can put at risk U.S. servicemen? Do you know the number of men this man is putting at risk by exchanging those messages with a reporter? Okay, thank God that this reporter was was a hero. He didn't put out all of those messages. But imagine if it was another person who was added in that group. What would he have done with those sensitive information? And imagine the number of people who would be at risk just because of the mistake of this irresponsible man. MAGA supporters, I know they are going to keep supporting this man even if he's doing these terrible things. So I'm wondering what would have happened if it was maybe Obama or Kamala Harris. What would you guys be saying? I know Fox News would be running news the whole day about this topic. But now because it's their man, they're going to support him even if he's just putting US military servicemen at risk. Do you guys remember when Peter Haig was accusing Hillary Clinton of using an unsecured email server? Let me take you back in the history. What's this one?
Divulging the secrets of our nation at the very highest level, that person would be in prison. There would be outrage across the board. But here, it's covered up. It's incredible.
No, the double standard is incredible. Imagine if it was, I don't know, Donald Trump, what the media would be doing to him right now, eviscerating him. Or imagine if it was a member of the military, which we've seen from General Cartwright and General Petraeus. They still go after these guys for a tiny, tiny fraction of what she willfully did and betrayed her country in doing so, supposedly for convenience, but actually so she could have a different set of standards and hide her conduct and the conduct of the Clinton Foundation, Benghazi, everything else, so she could stay away from and above the law. And it turns out foreign services want to know what our Secretary of State thinks. And in this instance, they did whatever they could to break an unsecure server in her basement. It tells you everything you need to know.
Guys, I think this is the right time for all MAGA folks to accept it that they have made a mistake. They have backed the wrong guy. They have supported the wrong government. Now this is their time to accept it and accept their mistake. And you are welcome. You can just leave MAGA cut and turn blue. Stop denying. I know you all know that you've messed around. You all know inside your hearts that you have backed the wrong government. Now this is your time to change and turn blue. Cause guys, this guy is messing you up. He's disappointing you. He's doing terrible things. Imagine we're still in the first year. Imagine what's going to happen in the next 4 years. For how long are you going to deny the truth, MAGA folks? I'm very curious to see the comments of MAGA folks about this incident. I want to know what are your opinions, what are your thoughts about this? How are you going to support him now? Let me see. I want to see the comments of MAGA folks. But there's no way you can keep backing this man with his people doing these terrible things. Is Peter Haig competent for this job? Is JD Vance competent for being the vice president? Guys, if you've got rid of the AI now, let's talk about this. Let's just talk about this. Are those leaders competent? Those MAGA leaders, are they competent? See what they're doing. Now, they will no longer accuse the AI. Who are they going to accuse? MAGA folks, tell us, who are you going to accuse now? So we are still in FAFO season, and a lot is about to come. More people are about to find out. Those MAGA folks who are still backing this man are about to find out. And that's it for today, guys. Make sure you like the video. Those viewers who have not yet subscribed, smash on the subscribe button. And those one with some opinions, guys, don't feel shy. Share your own opinions down there in the comment section. MAGA folks who backed for this man, who backed for this government, I want to know, what do you think? Are you still supporting this man with his people doing what Peter Haig is doing, and JD Vance and Rubio? Tell us down there in the comment section. Ciao.